My message is pretty simple. I made a mistake. I made a gargantuan mistake. I'm very sorry about what happened, and I've been sober now for 77 days, and I'm working hard on my sobriety every day and working hard to be a better person.
And by sober, you mean no alcohol and no drugs?
Correct.
What have you been using?
I'm not going to go into the details of those things that have happened in the past. My medical professionals, my family are supporting me to focus very much on the future. That future is a sober future, but it's a future where I manage my mental health better and work hard on being a better father and a better husband and a better representative.
Well, that's good, and everybody wish you well, but you're also a member of Parliament. Would you at least answer whether you took illicit drugs?
I'm just not going to go into the details of the things that have happened in the past. That's on the advice of my medical professionals. I'm focused very much on the future.
Have you talked to the Premier about those issues?
I've had a number of conversations with my colleagues right across the government and the Parliament, and on both sides of Parliament, I should say. Whilst I'm not going to go into the details of those, I've been very grateful for the support that I've received.
Well, have you been? The problem here is, as people say, you're a lawmaker, and it's probably relevant if you're a law breaker. Have you described to the Premier what you've been using? I can understand you don't want to say it publicly, but have you told the Premier what the issues have been?
I've been full and forthright in all of my discussions with my colleagues, yes.
Are you sure Parliament's the place for you?
Mental illness is something that affects 1 in 5 Victorians. There are lots and lots of people who deal with these issues. I'm dealing with it. I had historically, and up until July, I've been dealing with it poorly. I'm dealing with it now much better. I think as a community, it's important for us to support people who are struggling with mental ill health. And I think, and I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't think I still had a contribution to make in public life.
There are a lot of people who are mentally unwell.
Correct.
Not all of them smash up hotel rooms. Not all of them get trashed.
Mental illness manifests differently in different people. There are more than one sort of mental illness. I did the wrong thing. I made a gargantuan mistake. There's no doubt about that, and I don't resile from it.
But Jeff Kennett made the point. He didn't question whether you had mental health issues, but he did say don't use them as an excuse for antisocial behaviour.
Well, I can tell you that in that moment, in that hotel, I was crippled by anxiety. It was overwhelming. I had a flight to catch. I had medication I needed. My luggage was locked in a room behind reception. There was no one there.
But you hadn't even checked in, had you?
No, I had. This was the morning after.
But did you stay at the hotel that night?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, because the original information was you didn't even go and use the room. You've been out all night.
No. I arrived back at 2 a.m. I went to my room. I slept. I got up the following morning to try and retrieve my luggage a second time, and it wasn't available to me. And that anxiety became overwhelming, and I made a really bad decision in response to it.
Had you been using drugs that night as well?
No. How
regularly were you using drugs?
I'm not going to go into the details of all the things that are in the past. My focus is very much on the future, and I simply have to be. It's not good for my mental health to be dwelling on all the mistakes I've made. I've made some unbelievable mistakes. I've done things I'm not proud of, and I've done things I can't even remember.
That's what I was going to ask that, and maybe you won't answer it, but you said you'd done things you can't remember that were not good. But people have told you what you did. What sort of things?
Well, I can't remember them.
Yeah, but people have told you, obviously.
But look, there are things that I'm not proud of, undoubtedly.
Have you been violent?
But dwelling on the past is not the right therapeutic path for me. I am focused and have to be, for my own health, have to be focused on the future.
Have you driven when drunk or drugged? Well, once again, is that the past?
Well, look, I haven't, but the focus for me now is not to dwell on these things that have occurred in recent past and even further in the past. I definitely have not behaved to a standard that I would expect. I am focused now on being a much, much better representative, but more importantly, a better person. This experience has been chastening and it's been humbling. Exposing your fallibilities in the public domain is no small matter. It's not an easy thing to come to terms with and to get around. I can only do now what I have always intended to do, and that is be the best representative I can be for the people of Burwood.
When were you first diagnosed as having mental health issues? How long ago?
In the middle of last decade, I think about 2006 or 2007.
Okay, and you've mentioned depression and anxiety. Are they the only two?
Yeah.
Addiction, how long do you think you've been addicted?
Well, my statement said that I was dealing with addiction issues. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of all of that. I know that won't be good enough for some, but my focus for my health has to be on getting better. Has to be on doing the hard work and working on my sobriety one day at a time. I've been sober for 77 days. And that's what I'm working on.
And as I say, that's great, and good luck to you on it. Do you think you're an alcoholic?
Look, there are lots of labels in mental health land. It's not for me to, start passing clinical diagnoses here.
Well, no, that's true, but it's a pretty important thing. Recovering alcoholics, and I don't know whether you want or not, but recovering alcoholics all tell me the most important thing you can do is the old AA approach. I am an alcoholic.
Yeah, so look, I've been dealing with mental health issues and I was self-medicating. That's the reality. The crux of my issues are depression and anxiety. I've had suffered from depression and anxiety on and off for 12 or 13 years, I think.
Do you drink now?
No, I've been sober for 77 days.
Not a drop?
Not a drop.
Will you go back to it?
No.
Ever?
No.
Pretty boozy temptation, the Parliament.
Oh, look, there's plenty of people who drink, and there's plenty of people who drink and manage it way better than I was. That's the right option for me. To be honest, I've drunk enough for 2 lifetimes probably. So
really?
I'm enjoying my sobriety. I'm lighter than I've been in a long time. I'm feeling better. I'm clear-headed. That's the decision that works for me.
Did you receive, before this happened, any warning about your behaviour at the Parliament?
No.
Jeff Kennett says you were told that your antisocial behaviour needed to be addressed. That's wrong.
I can't speak for what others will say about these things. I can tell you that, I was struggling. That resulted in a very poor piece of behaviour about which I am ashamed. But I am doing the work now to get better.
But no warnings within the Parliament about your behaviour from the party or anybody else?
No.
Or the Speaker? Did you declare these issues at pre-selection?
We're asked as part of the pre-selection process to detail a range of matters. I answered all of those questions truthfully.
Does that include mental health issues? I don't know. I've never gone for pre-selection.
Well, look, I have last cited that form 15 months ago. Actually, I couldn't tell you exactly what questions are on it now.
Look, it's good that you're going public and explaining it all. I can understand it's very difficult for you, but do you think the voters of Burwood should have known before the election?
Well, I think, there is some stigma that still attaches to mental ill health. There's no doubt about that. And, some of my colleagues have chosen to be very public in their battles, and some people in the Parliament I know are very private about it.
But it's not only mental health, it's alcohol and potentially illegal drug use.
Everyone has their own journey to walk on these things, and I hope that they do so in a clear-headed and cogent way, and I also hope that they do it on the advice of their medical professionals. I've got a great team around me. I'm very fortunate to have a very high-quality team around me, and I have, in relying on their advice, I've resolved to not dwell on the past, to accept that I've done the wrong thing, which I do, and to look forward.
You said in the interviews I've seen that you spiralled out of control once you're in Parliament. Why? What was difficult about Parliament? Was it too stressful? Well,
look, there's a number of aspects of parliamentary life that are different to other jobs, and I think the fact that I'm sitting here doing this interview about my mental health is an atypical response to a mental health issue. There are people in the community who get to deal with these matters just within the privacy of their own homes and their own families. There are some different stresses that attach to parliamentary life. I was not travelling that well, and I think one of the things about mental ill health is that unlike a broken leg where you might have a pretty linear recovery and you kind of know when your leg's broken and you kind of know when it's better, one of the pitfalls of mental ill health is that you often can't recognise when you are not going that well.
Yeah, but we're talking about mental health on one side, another side addiction. I want to get this clear. You believe you're addicted to alcohol? Were you addicted to drugs?
I was self-medicating to manage my anxiety and depression.
So not necessarily addicted.
It's not for me to make clinical calls about exactly which side of the line one might
fall. Well, were you
relying
on drugs? Were you relying on drugs?
I was self-medicating, and are not managing my mental health well. I'm not going to focus on the details and the ins and outs of that. What I am going to do is work on getting better.
Tim Smith, the opposition member, says you should resign. What's your reaction to that? Are you going to stay around long term?
Everyone's entitled to their own view. You know, this is politics. People will make their own call. My focus is on being the best representative I can be for the people of Burwood. And if I'm offered the opportunity to serve again in 2022, then that'll be terrific.
Ambitions in politics?
Oh, I'd love to make the best contribution I can. I think everyone in the Parliament would share that view.
Front bench?
Well, I'd love to make the best contribution I can. It isn't for me to gaze too far ahead into the crystal ball. My focus is pretty short and medium term at the moment. It's on staying sober, working hard on my mental health and being a better rep.
Fair question. I mean, phoned in. Your luggage was in an area near the reception, wasn't it, in a storeroom? If you'd checked in, why wasn't it in your room?
Because I checked in at 10 a.m. and the room wasn't ready, so they said they'd put it up in the room when my room was ready.
Okay. It's going to be tough being back, isn't it?
Oh, look, I don't think anything about this process is particularly easy, Neil. I've had to confront a whole range of things that were going on in my life, and I've had to do so publicly. I accept that comes with the territory, but it's been a challenging time.
How old are your kids?
14, 12 and 9.
So they'd understand what was going on. How'd you explain it to them?
I think having to confront your children and having to have conversations as difficult as the ones I've had, that was the most difficult set of conversations of my life.
Good motivation to stay sober.
Oh, absolutely. Any parent, I think, can empathise that, as parents we are fallible, and to have to reckon with that fallibility in a public way, but also with your children who are also hearing things in their own environments, that was nothing short of excruciating.
So that's it. Move on now?
Well, I'm going to be doing my level best too, yeah.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks, Neil.
Will Fowles, the State Labor MP for Burwood.